Hello Steelers, and welcome to this video in which I'm going to show you how I built these three Panzer IVs. These are from the Hit the Beach box set by Battlefront. It's part of the Flames of War introduction box, and I won these as part of the Caesar Awards from Little Wars TV, so I thought I'd put together a small video just to show you how I built and painted them. It might give you some ideas if you're looking for German two-tone camouflage colours. And first things first, we have to separate the plastic parts from the sprues that they come on. So what I do is I basically just go through the sprue, identify it on the instructions, and then just cut them off with some snips, as you can see here. I try not to use a knife on this because it can damage the plastic. We'll clean all the little nubs and things up in the next stage, but this is just the first thing. I'll find all the pieces for one particular vehicle and put them all together so I've got them at hand and I don't have to go back and start clipping off other bits while I'm halfway through painting or whatever. And as I said, the next thing to do really is then just to start cleaning up all the little nubs that you've got left over from the sprues. These are quite easy to do. Just make sure you use a sharp knife and get in very close. Be careful, of course, because the plastic can be quite soft, so you can actually take away some bits of the plastic if you don't do this carefully. I usually use the side of the knife just to scrape off some of the nubs as well. That's an easy way to do things. And then of course we have to put them together. So I'm just using liquid glue here. It gets a little brush in it, so you just basically smear it onto the plastic. It melts the plastic together, so it's a really nice strong bond. And just build them up as per the instructions that you'll get with whatever kit you're building. These are really clear instructions actually from the Battlefront, and the pieces go together very nicely as well. Really, as long as you've cleaned them up and there's no little nubs, they all fall together and almost build themselves. And then it was to paint the base colours. This is Vallejo's Middlestone. I'd actually undercoated this in light grey beforehand using the airbrush and then went over it again with the Middlestone, as you can see here. I'll put all the colours I used in the description below so you can see them, with affiliate links for Amazon as well, which provide me with a little bit of money if you buy anything through those links. Quite easily done this. You can see also what I've done is I've actually stuck the base of the vehicle to a old paint pot, a Vallejo one in this case, because it fits quite nice. I use super glue to hold them in place because it can snap off quite easily when you finish painting, and you don't get to see the lump of super glue underneath it afterwards, but it will also hold it in place much better than say blue tack or something like that will. If you knock a blue tack tank, it will fall off, and I've had that happen before, so I find super glue is just a much easier way of dealing with this, and it doesn't damage the tank because you can't see the underneath anyway. And once we have our base colours on, it's time to start painting the camo. And the German late war camo was a three-tone camo using a red, brown and a green over the top of that Middlestone colour. However, in this case, we decided I wanted to go with the green. I used Vallejo reflective green for this, and using the airbrush with a very low pressure on it, I tried to spray as though the crew had sprayed the green on themselves. And this didn't take too long. Very quick, very simple job really, just working my way through them and just putting those patterns on so at least they're nice and camouflaged and the shape of the tank is broken up. Before I went any further, I started to add the turret numbers and the cross decals. You don't get these with the sets, unfortunately, but I think you can buy them on the Battlefront website. These ones I actually got from Mini Bits. There's loads of people that sell these kind of things out there. They're just water slide transfers, very simple, very easy to use, and I just made sure that the numbers matched on those individual tanks. And then it was time to apply filters. Now this is an enamel wash, it's by AK Interactive, and I've been using it quite a lot for my German tanks of recent. It's a really nice wash, gets right into the nooks and crannies, and you don't really need to do a great deal more once you put this stuff on and it's dried. It goes quite a long way. It's generally used for bigger models, but I've found that it works quite well on these 15mm models as well as an overall wash. It's just enough to bring out some of the details, and I basically slather this on. I'll leave it overnight, generally 24 hours to dry, because that's enough all that it needs, but then you can move on to the next stage after that. And that being painting tracks and also any tools and any stowage and things like that you have on there. I paint the tracks in black. I do these slightly different to my Allied tracks because the Germans were steel, I think. So This is a three-tone process, so I'll start with the black first of all, just as a base colour, just to be neat around those wheels. Again, if you do make a mess with the tracks when you're painting the black, you can always cover it up anyway with any weathering or things that you want to do in the next couple of stages, so don't worry too much about it, but I do try to be as neat as I can while I'm doing these. As I say, it's a three-part process for painting tracks, so the next bit is to get Vallejo's oily steel and just gently dry brush over the top of that black, all on any of the tracks that you can see, so the ones that have been used as armour and things, and also the ones on the vehicle itself as well. It's a very simple process that I go through to do these tracks, and anybody can do it really. The final stage for the tracks is just to cover them in Flurry Wash's clay wash rust. This is a fantastic wash. It goes on quite bright and red, as you could possibly see. I'll also do it on the exhaust, as you can see I'm doing there as well. But I'll basically cover the entire tracks, so they've already been painted black and silver, and now I'm just going over with this rust colour. And as soon as it dries, it darkens up and does look like rust. If you really want to, you could probably just go again over the tracks with some oily steel just to bring out a couple of bits where the rust is scratched off, but I generally don't. I just work away and leave this on. It's a great wash, and I'm not sure if there's any available at the moment, but do check. I'll put links for it again in the description down below, so do check it out. It's well worth buying a bottle if you can. And then very quickly we're on to the final stage of weathering, and this is literally taking some khaki by Vallejo or anybody really, and just dry brushing it up against the sides of the skirts and around the tracks, and basically creating a tide mark of dust around the bottom of the vehicle itself. Dry brushing is very simple. Basically put your brush into the paint and then try to get as much off of that paintbrush itself afterwards. As you can see here, so I'm wiping it on some old cloth and then just wiping it up against the side of the vehicle, and it adds a nice little subtle dusty colour to the bottom of the vehicle. If you want to go any further with your weathering, then please do. It's your vehicle after all. However, this is enough for me. I think it looks good enough. It looks like it's in action. It's probably gone through rain. It may have been cleaned off at some point in the depot, but it certainly works for me. And then finally, it's just giving these a spray of matte varnish, and I use Winsor & Newton Artist Professional Matte Spray. The best on the market. If you can get some, do so. It is a little bit expensive, but it's well worth it. It really brings the models together finally once it's dry, and protects them as well. I've never had any chipping issues with this at all. Then I also had to make the bases as well. A lot of people don't like basing tanks, but I do. I cut these out of styrene sheets, so it's plastic card basically, and I cover them with these earth diorama effects from Vallejo. It's basically a paste that has a little bit of thin sand in it, so it's got a nice little texture to it, and I'll just cover these in it. It doesn't take very long to dry. Do them in two parts. I'll do half of the base first and then come back when it's dry and finish off the other half. And then when that is dry, I will just apply undiluted PVA glue all over the base. This is then to be able to stick static grass to it. You could use an applicator here if you have one for static grass. I don't usually bother for 15mm because I don't need the grass to stand up. And I also find as well just blowing on it gently as it's drying will also make some of the grass stand up anyway. I then dip it into my static grass bath, ensuring that all of it is covered, and pull it out, and then that's the bases finished. Just let them dry. Blow off any excess grass and knock it off as well, and you are done. And that is them done. Completed very simply, very easy, only a few stages, and only took a couple of days really to get from the sprue to the end result. Thank you for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, please do subscribe if you don't already. It all adds to the algorithms of YouTube. Hit the like button please, leave me a comment, and stay tuned for more videos in the future.